This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so it's 6 o'clock on September 12th, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States and to the one nation with liberty. All righty, all counselors are present, and I just want to remind everyone in the audience, please sign in on the sign-in sheet. If you didn't, you can do it at the end or whatever. Is there any amendments or changes to the agenda? Okay. After the treatment plan updates?
Yep.
Information,
Okay, I'll just,
give the council,
okay, after that, fine.
that's fine.
Okay. All right, any others? Or I would entertain a motion to accept the amended agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the amended agenda.
Sherry makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I can second that.
Ron seconds. All in favor of accepting the amended agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. So consent agenda. I gave you guys an updated check registry on your pile because Rob was able to make it over this morning and do more checks for us. He was over last week and couldn't get all of them. So I have that, and then we have 4 sets of minutes. And then we have Nick's contract with the attachment that was missing from it last time, and also Rob Gasling's contract. So any discussion or motions or questions? Yeah,
I haven't seen the updated check register.
it's in your pile.
This one?
It was on you should have gotten, not that one. It's right there underneath your, yeah, but no. Right.
Okay.
The information that I said was missing last time was the blank
His fee schedule,
fee schedule, and it's still blank.
but it's attached, it's the 2 pages afterwards are his fee schedules.
So that's the only fee schedule.
Mhm.
It's $115 an hour.
So
I saw that.
okay.
I'd like to see the invoice for the lawyer.
It's cheaper.
Is this for just 2 weeks?
No,
9, 10, 2 months?
we can hand him that. Please, if you're online, mute your microphone.
That was my only question.
Okay. On Nick's.
Yes. I did see the additional page beyond that, but the fee schedule page was still blank, and that was my only concern last time. Was incomplete.
Yeah.
We didn't have a fee schedule.
Yeah, that's what he provided and Jeremy provided, so.
Mayor, could you give me some background? Why does it cost so much for a public records request with the lawyer?
So anytime they have anything to do with personnel or investigation stuff, the attorney is reviewing it due to the fact that we had staff that released an item that was exempt from public records to the newspaper and could have been a lawsuit waiting to happen. So we have started using the attorney for anything that deals with personnel or the private investigation. Because they also, the attorney hired the private investigator, the city of John Day paid for it, but we don't hold, I mean, we didn't contact him, we don't hold anything, so anything that had to do with the public records request for the investigation had to go through the attorney, because we don't, what you guys saw at that executive session is all that we hold, and then the letter that went to staff.
There seemed like a lot of money for public records requests review.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, or I would entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Jerry makes a motion. Do I hear a second?
I can second it.
Seconds. All in favor of accepting the consent agenda, say aye. So, public comment. This is time for public comment. 3 to 5 minutes. I wanted to discuss with council too, what are your thoughts? And I want discussion on this, public comment moving to the end in case things come out during the meeting and people want additional public comment. Do you guys like it at the beginning? Do you want it at the end in case, I just want input from you guys on, because I know there's times that things come up during the meeting too, and people want to make public comments on that as well, so.
Well, generally, we've allowed during a discussion,
Yeah,
if the public wanted to make a comment on that discussion, we've
Right,
allowed that.
right.
So,
I'm meaning like at the end, we've had people that like want additional public comments, so do we want to continue that as well, or just have it be at the beginning and
I
continue?
think the public's got a right to
Okay.
speak their mind,
Perfect,
personally.
good,
That's who hired us,
absolutely.
so.
Okay, anything else? So, aim first, go ahead and raise your. Oh, Bob, will you make sure your microphone's muted for a minute, bud?
Mayor?
Yeah.
When people sign in, could they check a box and let us know?
I was wondering, because the school board does
Would
that.
they like to make, that way we know for sure, and that way we don't have anybody surprising us?
Yeah.
Even though they,
They still can
yeah,
say
but I mean,
something.
that helps us a little.
No, I thought about that, because that's how the school board does it, right? Okay, I
Yeah,
like,
but you don't go over there and look at it.
but I can grab the sheet. So the school board, when the meeting starts, the school board member goes and grabs the sheet. And people can still have public comments that forgot to mark the sheet or whatever, but it's also a way that they call them up in order and type of a thing. Is that something you guys would be interested in?
Sure.
Okay, we can change that on the sign-in sheet next meeting. All right, so I saw arms. Yeah, come on up, Casey. State your name and city.
Casey Mark, John Day, employee, resident, public works director. For the last 6 to 8 months, I've questioned why I choose to continue this career, knowing full well the answer. The answer is this: I've dedicated 15 plus years of my life gaining certifications, keeping them current, so these people, the citizens of this town, can have palatable and pleasing aesthetically pleasing water. In order to ensure that they can flush a toilet and pour a glass of water at all hours of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I work for these citizens, not the council nor the mayor. In fact, if the city had a city manager, I would be under his or her direct supervision and would within reason. People have a different opinions. They all do. But through common sense and reason, those opinions can be resolved. Now, however, if something is discussed that they don't agree with, it is perceived as projected with hate and malice. This is not the case when it comes to the truth. I learned many years ago that the truth is easy to remember and lies will always catch up to you. Why? Because a person can never tell the same lie twice the same way each time. The truth is easy to remember because when you tell the truth, it is the same verbiage and story every single time. I admit council is in a rough place, as in the city is. All that needs to happen, in my opinion, is for all of them to be truthful to the employees and to the citizens we all serve. Educate themselves on the many projects the city has so they can answer questions from the public. Tell the people what projects are, where we are at, and where we stand as far as completion on some of them, or at least be able to reasonably explain the process of how it is fulfilled. Council, not as a whole, seems to care more about concerns of people who don't even live in this city's boundaries, other than those that pay our taxes, salary, and wages in order to have a functioning water and sewer system. These people should have zero say in city business since they do not contribute anything except negativity toward the staff and citizens here. Lastly, it's probably not written anywhere, but for over 20 years, past practice has been and always was, when the city manager was absent, the city recorder was second in line, the public works director or the senior supervisor was in line after the city recorder, if the city recorder was employed by the city. Evidently that has changed with this change of mayor and council. Thank you.
Yeah, step on up, state your name and city, please.
Kathy Stoddard, John Day. On August 22nd, I presented a verbal recorded complaint regarding Heather's unprofessional, unethical behavior in public, speaking about employees of the city in a negative manner. What is the follow-up to that? I have heard no response. What's happening?
So I forwarded that on to Dave Holland, council president, and the attorney, since it had to do with me, and I've stepped aside to let them, and I believe that they were gonna discuss. So I don't know.
What is the timeline for that?
I don't know. You can ask Dave if he has an
I
update.
haven't heard anything from the attorney.
Okay.
I got the email reply from the attorney, said that he would discuss it with me. I have not heard from him.
Okay. Second question. How many more hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants are we likely to lose because you're not following through, completing what needs to be done? We just gave 100,000 back. So where are we at with all of the other grants?
Everything that we have currently with Nick is all in compliance and moving forward.
Okay.
The 100,000 was because the budget committee cut the position. So that was decided by the budget committee and council when they cut the position of the community development director. So that's what that 100,000 was from. It should have been returned to them back when the budget was approved, but it just never was.
So I'm not taken care of. Duly noted.
Yep, by prior people, so thank you. All right, any other public comment? Yeah, step on up.
Jim Spell, John Day. I wrote this up, I'm gonna try to read it, but I've got some vision issues here. Okay, tonight, council has 5 applicants seeking to fill one of the 2 vacant positions. I read the applications, and council is fortunate to have applicants who are suitable to serve on council. In my previous employment, I had the responsibility to fill vacant positions. I was fortunate that applicants had been previously screened and given a score of suitability by the state. My job was to select the individual best suitable for the position. The 5 applications have a variety of experiences and attributes. A review of the application and the interview process should enable councils to rate all 5 from the least qualified to the most qualified. It's my understanding the only stated requirement for an application is being a resident of John Day. My question tonight, has council as a group identified criteria desired in an application? For example, some of those criteria might be education, experience in working as a part of a group, ability to analyze, integrity, budget experience, ability to communicate and accept diverse opinions, understanding of council rule, and many, many more. As a council member nominates or support a candidate, stating why that decision was made would be helpful to the public to understand your decision. Failure to give a basis for your selection allows citizens to question the nominating council member suitability to serve and consideration of lack of transparency when said member is up for reelection. So a major decision has to be made tonight, and the public has the right to know what that criteria was when that selection was made. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others in building? If you have one online, please wave your hand. Seeing none, I'm gonna close public comment. All right. So we'll go in order of the applications being received. I'm sure why the sheriff is calling me, but he's gonna give me a message. So the first one that was received was Cody. Oh, it might be Cody because he's at work. This is Heather.
Are you there?
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Cody, I can hear you.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
the sheriff's.
Yeah,
I was afraid it was you.
oh, yeah, no, it's me.
Okay. So if you want to kind of give us explanation of why you're applying, what your hopes are, and all that kind of stuff, and then we'll listen to everybody else, and then council will deliberate.
Okay. Yeah, basically, I just see a little bit of division, in the community. I don't like that division. I feel like we're a better community than that. I feel like we all need to come together, council included, and figure this out. And we're not all going to agree on everything, but we can all, respect everybody's opinion.
Okay, do you want to talk anything about your history or anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I don't have like any political history. I've worked for the sheriff's office for 2 years. I felt like it was time to step out of my comfort zone and do something that I have never, done before. So, yeah, I don't know what else you would like to know. I grew up in this community. My family's been here for, at least 150 years. I've been here off and on for the last 51 years. So, and I'm back and I want to serve the public.
Okay, so at this time, council can ask any questions that they want of him, and then we'll move on to the next one. If you have any.
Cody, this is Sherry.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask you why you're not here in person tonight?
I actually got my shift changed, and I'm working graveyard for the next month. So that's why I'm not there.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
All right, anything else?
Well, this is Ron Phillips. I got a question. Would this be a problem in you attending council meetings in the future with the shift change?
No, it should not be. I've talked to my supervisor and we've kind of worked it out to where if there's a city council meeting and I'm on duty that night, that I could get a fellow deputy hopefully to come and work for me for at least an hour and a half so I can attend the meetings.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions yeah, Chris Labhart has one.
Cody, this is Chris Laphart.
Yes, sir.
Have you had any public service in the community?
I have not since I've been back here. No, I mean, I've done like just my deputy just at the jail, and that's about it.
Thanks for coming back to the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Cody, so we're gonna move on to the next one. You can stick around till the end, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So next one is Edwin Newby. You can step on up here. Just state your name and why you applied and all that good stuff.
Well, my full name is Edwin Newby, but the only one that called me that was my mom.
I won't call you that if you're not in trouble.
So Ed is fine. My wife and I moved here in 2021, but we have been visiting the John Day area since the early 1980s. We have friends who have lived here, and we continued coming in on vacations and such into the middle of the 1990s and so forth. So I've grown accustomed to the community. I love being in a community that you can stop an average person on the street and they'll talk to you. Where we came from, that had changed to the point if you had stopped somebody on the street and said hello, they backed away like this. As far as why I'd like to see that preserved. I would like to see peace on the council. And interestingly, what gave me the push was that I had a number of friends who we met at a restaurant, and they all were saying, you need to put your name. You need to put in an application. So I have been in situations, the question was about city service and such. Prior to this, we were living in Redmond, Prineville. I would work with the school system during career days and such. I would go in and give the kids, work with the kids. My wife and I have raised foster kids starting in 2005, and the last one left us in 2021, although I admit I did help him out a little. He was ready to go. And there's other things I've been involved in. I was active in going to city council meetings, school board meetings. I don't know what else, as it was brought out, my education is on that application and various other things that my wife and I have done. My wife was a school teacher for more than 2 decades. And we have a lot of experience at dealing with people. And people, or guess what? They're people. I've had some, in my interactions with some, I've had those who come up to me and said, Ed, you don't believe anything I stand for, do you? He said, so why do you talk to me? I mean, I appreciate that. And I don't agree with anything you do, but I can talk to you. And I have been doing a preparation of just talking to merchants, talking to the librarians, talking to other things like that. I want to get to know the people. And I don't know what else we need to say at this point. And my wife and I joke about this. I said, when you've been through from 2005 to 2021 with foster kids, some of whom at times were violent and such, you learn to work with a lot of people. That's all I have to say.
So council will ask questions and then you can have a seat.
There are 2 positions open.
Yes.
One goes to 2026 and the other one goes to 2024. Do you have a preference as to which one of those you would be more comfortable with?
I'm not really familiar with the differences involved on that part.
It's just the length of office.
Oh.
Yeah, we had a counselor that was just elected this
Right.
previous year, so that is the one that's through 2026.
I thought you were giving me.
Oh, no.
That's why you ask questions.
Yeah.
So no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ed?
Oops.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Ed, my name's Chris Lampart. want to thank you for being involved in the foster care program.
What's that?
I appreciate you being involved in the foster care program. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Do you know what a city charter is?
A city charter?
Yeah.
As far as when the city was founded,
No.
not that.
If I said it's how the city operates, it gives us the rules, regulations we have to abide by.
I have not read that.
Okay. Would you agree to abide by those rules if you were on the council?
I would certainly have to if I'm going to serve. And, you know, I'm a writer and an editor. I might correct any typos.
Hopefully there are.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And
Any others? Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, next one is Bailey Frazier.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bailey Frazier, previously Bailey Harper. I was born and raised in Mount Vernon. This has been my community all my life, and it's all I've known. My husband and I recently moved to John Day about a year ago and bought a house. I'm running for city councilor because I'm kind of scared where we're headed, and I want a future for our kids. I definitely think I could be a big asset to the team of maybe a little more diverse in with my age, a little different thinking maybe, and more open to growing as well, but also keeping our community similar to how it has been between how close we've been in the past, sorry, I'm really nervous. But I'm hoping I can be a big asset, and I know I haven't been to many meetings. I usually work on Tuesdays, which hopefully going forward, I won't have to do in the evenings. And I'm looking forward to being a part of the community a little more, especially since we've moved back here. Definitely John Day has, even though I didn't live in John Day all my life, John Day is the biggest part of Grant County. It's a big asset. It's the main town where everyone comes, tourists come, and then kind of spread out from there to go to the smaller towns. So I think John Day has a big impact on even smaller communities around us. And I think if John Day is thriving, the rest of Grant County will be thriving. And I hope I can help with that.
Thank you. Any questions for Bailey?
I'll ask the same question. Of the two positions, do you have a preference?
Honestly, I would say 2024. That way the community kind of has an option to choose. I think that's the best way to go about it, but I mean, in this case, we can't do that, so I think 2024, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Of course.
Yes.
Bailey, you mentioned you had some concerns about the city. What do you see are some of the major concerns that you feel you could help us out with?
I do think division's a big one, and I think I'm very good at finding common ground between all types of people. I've worked with this community, I mean, since the time I was 15, face to face with everyone almost, which I really enjoy, and I think I'm very good at finding common ground for people and kind of being peacekeeper, but also I'm not afraid to speak my mind and let you even, so.
Thank you.
So, Dave Holland, if you're appointed to council, what would be 3 of your top priorities that you would want to focus on?
Organization. I'm not saying you're not organized, but I do feel like it's hard to narrow down all the issues that have been happening and prioritizing them over other ones. I know that's difficult for anyone at everyday life, let alone you guys having to do that shorthanded as well as a council. And I don't know if that is it, the biggest issue, but I do believe that might be one of the things to tackle on, and whether I could help with that or not. In my everyday job, I take classes all the time on how to prioritize things and organize and stay focused with teams and things like that. So hopefully that's one of them. Definitely focus maybe on the employees, City John Day employees. Finding a manager, I know that's been difficult for you guys, and I'm not sure exactly the best way to go about it, but I'm sure I could be an asset to figure it out and maybe look at other towns around us and see how they do it, and if there's any other solutions besides just a main city manager or things like that, and help with the employees and making sure we're keeping the employees and doing the best we can to focus on them, because they are a big part of what makes the city of John Day run.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Bailey? All right, thank you, dear. Next one up is Susan Church.
Okay, same drill?
Yep, same drill.
Okay. I've been coming to John Day since 1989 or 1990, camping up at Strawberry, and have bought a house, ended up buying a house here in 2009 and living here permanently in 2015, and have always loved the combination of the beauty of the outdoor, the richness of the different groups that were part of this community. I'm part of a walking group that had people from Forest Service, the hospital, and the community that really helped integrate me into who we are as a vital community. And have been concerned recently about all of the changes and the divisions and the anxiety that's produced. And I think that one of the things that I could bring to the council is a way of visioning that looks at how change happens in the space between comfort and fear. And to look at how we have respectful communications with one another and dialogue, and how we move from a solid, this is my position, to noticing and wondering about each other and where we're coming from in a particular position. And questioning assumptions. You know, we all come with our own assumptions, and how do we have a dialogue where we can address those assumptions? I think a big thing of that a council is charged with is truth telling, and looking at the balance between our tradition, which is wonderful, but you can't stay in a tradition. It becomes solidified, sort of like how a cell works. If a cell is surrounded by the covering and it can't have communication, it dies. If there's no cell, if there's no covering around that cell, then it dies because it's all over the place. So how do we find that balance where we can communicate and work toward the benefit of the community, of the people of this community? I think I bring some of those skills. I've done some training, leadership skills training, the Kaleidoscope Institute training, which has a lot to do with how do you help change happen in a productive and creative way. I've also worked a lot with budgets. I'm an Episcopal priest, for those of you who don't know. I worked with the diocese, and I was on their board of trustees. We worked with the budgets for the board of trustees and the millions of dollars. I've worked with personnel things in the standing committee. So I've had a lot of experience within the church. And I also have had some experience within this community in terms of the boards I've been on with the Hope for Paws and the community garden. If you have feral cats, I may have been to your place to trap them. And maybe herding cats might be a good skill set for me. I don't know. Anyways, so I don't know if you have other questions for me.
Sure, thank you. Any questions? Do you want to do your same?
Do the same as I do before, of how long a term you want to serve, or?
I lean towards 24, but I'm not opposed to 26.
Okay. Thank you.
Any others? Yes, go ahead.
Susan, I know you've got quite a bit of civic activities on your resume. What did that bring, that involvement in civic activities, what would that bring to this council?
I think part of it is working with a diverse group of people. I mean, from Centro de Ayuda, where I worked with Latinx community, which has a way different way of processing things and having to hear in a new way, and to understand in a new way the concerns and cares that are in that place. I think working with the Samaritan House Homeless Shelter I have some experience working with houselessness. Those were in Newport. Pastoral Counseling Center, I worked with in Corvallis. So a variety of things, other than herding cats.
And just a quick follow-up. The city council has two major things that we deal with. We set policy and we hire and fire the city manager. That's all.
Mhm.
We don't control employees. We don't do anything like that. Would you have any problem with just dealing with those two things?
No, because I think if we can deal with those two things, the other things fall in place.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and finally, Eric Bush.
Okay,
Same drill.
Same drill. First of all, I think it's really an honor to be amongst such a great group of applicants, because I think everybody here really, I think has demonstrated they have a heart for the city. And Councilman Labhart, you did steal my thunder. Because first thing I was gonna say when I got up here was thank Ed for being a foster parent, because that is an extremely difficult job. And I'm intimately familiar with the challenges of foster parenting, foster community, and I want to thank you for that, because that is a thankless, difficult job, and we need more foster parents, so thanks for that. The reason I decided to apply for the open council positions was really, one, I felt there was a need, and you're down two positions. I think there's a need for calm, deliberate, stable leadership in the council. I think there's a need for somebody with a background in critical thinking and strategy, and can look at things from a broad perspective and bring various groups of people together and find real solutions that are specific to what government's primary responsibilities are. And I've got a lot of experience in doing this kind of thing, and the reason I took the job here in Grant County 2 years ago was honestly, it was a little bit impulse. I wasn't really planning on coming to work for Grant County when I moved over here, but I always was planning on moving back here. For those of you who didn't read my application, my family moved here shortly after World War II. My mother and father both graduated from Grand Union High School. I have two namesake roads in this county after each side of my family. I've spent every summer, virtually a portion of every summer, if not the entire summer of my life, every year in this county since I was 6 weeks old. And my first job was in this county. And I've made it very clear, and I've been blessed with the number of things I've been able to do throughout my life. And when I say that, I really mean it. I've been very blessed. And I really feel like it's an opportunity for me to bring some of the things I've learned and I've seen and I've learned to do and bring it back to this community and help. I never aspired to be in political office. I've never wanted to be in political office. I've never wanted to run for election. And, I can't tell you that if I am appointed at the end of my term, whether or not I would or wouldn't run. I can't. I won't commit to one way or the other, just so you know. I may not. But it's not something that is in my bucket list of have to do things. I've been blessed to do a lot of things. As far as civic involvement, I listed the things on the application that I thought were most relevant. And there's a few things on there that I think, based on some of the questions I've heard today, I think are important. I served on the Oregon Governor's Task Force for Domestic Violence for a year, about 10 years ago. Worked with a lot of diverse groups in that. I ran an emergency housing shelter for a year as part of my responsibilities for a job that I did volunteer to do it because they were needed at the time. Managed the Salvation Army program within the agency I was responsible for. That's 50 cents in the jar. I've got a lot of experience working in city government. 11 years as a department head, writing, executing multi-million-dollar budgets. I have police department, county 911 center. On my military side, I've led thousands of people at a time, been responsible for them in and out of combat, and not just Americans. I was in charge of 2,000 Ugandans in Iraq. And as an example, I was a lead military diplomat, trilateral engagement between Korea and Japan and the United States as a senior U.S. official there. And I was a senior representative for the South Korean Army, the largest part of the South Korean Army in Korea for several years. I spent 5 years and 2 tours in Korea and a year in the Indo-PACOM AOR. And like I said, this was all tremendously enlightening experiences that I've had. And I want to bring those experiences back here to John Day. I want to be able to sit here and provide calm, reliable, thoughtful leadership and be able to listen to what everybody has to say. Because change is tough. And one of my favorite sayings that a good friend of mine always said was, change is inevitable, progress is optional. So, if we want to progress, we've got to decide how we're going to progress. But change is going to happen. So with that said, I love this community and no skin off my teeth. If you decide I'm not the right fit, that's okay. Sherry, I have no preference on which seat, if you were going to ask me that. I'll just let the council decide on that one. I am very sensitive to the fact that this is an appointed position, not an elected one. And I think that's significant and important to remember. And I will remember that as I move forward and help be part of the team that takes the city on to its next chapter. Any questions?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you apply for the city manager's position?
And honestly, I love my job. Now, the city manager job would pay a lot more, but I love my job. And it's, no. But as part of the council, I do have insight into how I work for 5 city managers, unfortunately. And I've seen good ones and I've seen bad ones. And I've seen good ones hired and I've seen bad ones hired. And the consequences of it and the whys and the problems. And so I do have some insight in that process that I hope would be helpful or insightful if you give me an opportunity to share that.
I have one more follow-up there.
Yes, sir.
In my experience, we all have biases and we all have opinions, but sometimes our opinions get in the way of facts. Would you be able to set aside your biases and work for the good of the city?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got personal biases. And the biggest thing about bias, everybody does. Every one of us sitting here does, right? So is understanding that, first of all, it's kind of like admitting the problem, right? Okay, I got biases. So you admit it, you understand what those biases are. And you understand when you're listening to people, okay, this isn't something that I'm all that comfortable with, but I'm going to listen to it because I'm going to think critically and I'm going to make my own decision. The last thing I want is for me to make a decision and people to say, oh, I know exactly who he's going to make a decision on something completely unrelated because he made a decision that way. You won't get that from me. If I make a decision one way on a particular topic, on a completely separate topic, I may make a completely different decision. And I think you would be surprised because that seems to be so rare nowadays. I'm a transparency and ethics. I have a set of 7 core values that I stick to. loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And I aspire to those every day.
Sounds like you've been in the military.
A lot.
By the way, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I got. And if I can help, great, regardless in what capacity. Thanks.
Any other questions for Eric?
Yes, sir.
I guess my only question would be for you and our first candidate, both working for the county, because there's been tension between the county court and the city over the last several years. It goes back more than before Nick Green. It started way before then, but anyway, so where you work for the county and we're dealing with county related issues, whether it be money for the sheriff's department or some other issue dealing with the county, there's high potential for conflict there where you wouldn't be able to discuss and or vote. So I guess, how do you feel about?
Well, conflicts of interest are extremely, it's an important topic. And as we all know, and, you know, I am not going to get involved in a discussion of anything that I could personally benefit from. And that's the gold standard. Okay. And if there's something like, okay, well, Eric works for the sheriff's office and we're talking about, you know, law enforcement contract, even though I'm the emergency management court or whatever, if it's kind of a gray, my first stop is the city attorney to get legal advice. That is the first stop. And I'll follow that legal advice before I move out and either participate or not. The attorney says, no, you know, when we make decisions in the military at the higher level, one of the things we do is we have a JAG, a lawyer in our back pocket. When we make decisions, first thing we do is consult the JAG, because the ethics regulations are so complex and so significant and consequential that you got to make sure you get it right. So the attorney will give you advice on a particular decision you're making. And if you follow that attorney's advice and you're wrong, you're still wrong, but you're not penalized. Okay? It makes sense because you followed the attorney's advice. Attorneys aren't always right. They're not perfect. Our city attorney is not going to be perfect every time. And in fact, a lot of times I sought additional advice. My experience gave me a great example at the city of Prineville in my 11 years as the police chief there. I never once had a labor grievance, 11 years. Never had a labor grievance, never had a lawsuit from an employee. And 2 years into my tenure as police chief, the union voted to deunionize. So I think that record right there speaks to my judgment and my ability to navigate perceptions of transparency, fairness, and ethics. To answer your question real directly, Dave, is if there's a conflict of interest, I will not participate. If there's a bona fide conflict of interest, I will not participate.
When did you serve on the budget committee for the city, John?
Just this last year.
Just last year?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's on there. Yeah. He was there at the meeting.
I was in your moment.
I know. Yeah, he was too down for.
You and I had a brief discussion, but that's okay.
I like your gold standard for conflict of interest. If everybody live by that, if you're gonna benefit,
Well,
declare it.
but not you personally, even if your employer
Yes.
is gonna benefit.
Yeah,
Same
that
thing.
would be a great question for legal counsel. And because I don't want to sit here and say, well, I feel like this and I feel like that. There's a lot of that goes on. If I'm not sure of an answer, I'm not going to guess, all right? I'm going to go to the expert, whether it's an attorney or a department head or a technical person, and ask for the correct answer. I'm not going to have all the answers. You know, somebody asked me a question about some random pH balance in the water at the water plant. I'm gonna find that, I'm gonna phone a friend. I shouldn't have to know that. We pay people to do those jobs. We need to make make sure we've got good people in the right place at the right time and enable them to stay out of the way so they can do their job. And one of the most important things we can do, I think, right now is to get a city manager in place that has good leadership skills and can create an environment where people want to do the job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right. So, discussion, motions, if you make a motion, please say which term, so counselor seat number 5, their term ends 2026. Counselor seat number 6, their term ends 2024. And there were only, so Bailey Harper preferred 2024 and Susan Church preferred it, but also would be in favor of 2026.
I'd be open.
Yeah. So those are the other ones. So any discussion, motions, whatever you guys, we have a lot of good applicants. Yeah.
I agree, we had a lot of good applicants. I hope the council takes into consideration the people we've heard tonight, and you make your vote based on what's best for the city. Not what's best for you and I, but what's best for the city. Please keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And why don't we does anybody have a recommendation or a motion for 2026 council seat number 5? We'll do it that way.
I would nominate Eric Bush for the
Okay, so
2026.
Chris makes a motion.
I would second that.
Eric Bush, hold on. Bush. Chris made the motion. Ron seconds for Eric Bush. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of Eric Bush for council seat number 5, term ending 2026, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, passes 5-0.
When will we have to fill out his W-2?
Okay, we'll swear them in after we get the next one. So they're gonna be sworn in so that they can be part of the executive. W-2, we're just gonna throw it in for an application. I'm just kidding. So council seat number 6, term ending 2024. Do I have a motion for someone for that one?
I would like to make a motion for Edwin Newby. He has been here at the meetings. I have spoken to him on many occasions. I think he could add some balance and some civility. And I would very much like to have him on council.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that one too.
Ron seconds. Discussion. If you were gonna,
For 2024.
right, it's for the term, it's for council seat number 6. 5's been filled. You're locked in. You had your hand raised too. Were you wanting to nominate someone different?
Yes.
Okay, so let's have discussion on that,
Well, we got a
please.
motion on the floor first.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So 3-2, and then Chris?
Well,
It's irrelevant now.
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Okay. So Ed Newby is counselor spot number 6. So I will swear you in first, please. I'll give you a copy so you can read it.
Read it out.
Read it. Okay, raise your right hand, please. I, Edwin Newby, first duly sworn on oath,
Being first duly sworn on oath,
say that I will faithfully and honestly
say that I will faithfully and honestly
discharge the duties of counselor
discharge the duties of the counselor
of the city of John Day
of the city of John Day,
and will support the laws and constitution of this state
and will support the laws and constitution of the state
and the United States to the best of my ability.
and the United States to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Eric Bush, step on up.
Is now.
You have a copy so you can read. Raise your right hand. I, Eric Bush,
I, Eric Bush,
being first duly sworn on oath,
being first duly sworn on oath,
say that I will faithfully and honestly
say that I will faithfully and honestly
discharge the duties of counselor
discharge the duties of counselor
of the city of John Day
of the city of John Day,
and will support the laws and constitution of the state
and will support the laws and the constitution of the state
and the United States to the best of my ability.
and the United States to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Awesome, thank you. I do want to say, I really appreciate all of the people that applied, and I thank you all for applying. 2024 will have 3 counselor seats up. I would love to see all of your names on the ballot if you didn't make it on. There are a lot of good candidates, and I think it spoke highly. And so I really appreciate all of you. And now that Eric is on council, there will be spots open on the budget committee. So if any of you are interested in budget committee, and we still have a spot on the planning department if you are an at-large outside city limits. So there's applications in the back. There's still room to volunteer and give back to the community that we also love. And in 2024, we'll have 3 spots running again. Okay. You two, I will get you a copy of this. You'll get it notarized and return it back to the city with your names on it. All right, so Nick is here as well as Bob. They have updates and everything like that, so I'm going to turn it over to them and let them take over on updates and what this past month's work has been with city and everything else. So Nick, you're on.
Hey everybody. There's a couple decisions that I'd like the council to weigh in on. Some work that has advanced and some scope amendments.
Nick, you're muted.
Looks like I lost my microphone there, sorry. Can you hear me now?
You're good, thank you.
So there's I've kind of tried to highlight on the first page of my update some of the actions that we need the council to take. The simplest one is the Mason, Bruce, and Gerard scope amendment, and that is related to the biological work that we're going back and forth with Fish and Wildlife and the fish services. So we got another round of comments, and they've been working on this for almost 2 years now and have exhausted their existing scope of work. So this is what they need to finish up the last draft of the biological assessment and get that submitted to the services. And it should be included, Heather, I think, in that couple hundred pages of stuff that I gave to you.
Yeah, thanks for all that reading material. I appreciate it.
So that's the additional $8,394 that they're looking.
Correct, and that would come out of our existing grants that are already set up for that sewer project, and I've already run those contracts. The 2 that have numbers here, I've run those by Business Oregon, and they've given it the thumbs up to for the grants to pay for those.
I don't see a problem.
Yeah, they've been amazing to work with, and I wouldn't want this to stop this far into it. So I would entertain a motion to amend that contract for that price if you would like to make it.
I'll make a motion to amend the contract with, oh God, what's the name of them? Oh, with Mason, Bruce, and Gerard for $8,494 to expand the scope they've been working on.
All right, Sherry makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Eric seconds. All in favor of approving the amendment of $8,494, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, passes 7-0. It's nice to say that. All right, there was another action item. I know, Nick.
Yeah, one of the other things, some great progress is going on with the city's Purple Pipe project, which is, the disposal pipeline, one of the disposal methods for the new wastewater treatment plant that's kind of being designed in parallel to our overall project. And as a part of that, the city had committed as a part of the grant application to Oregon Water Resources to transfer some in-stream water rights. And Bob Long and his team put that packet of documents together. And I'll be honest, the fact that it is an in-stream water right transfer package is about all that I can tell you. So that's why I really wanted him to be here to kind of explain exactly what's happening, kind of what you guys are agreeing to with this. Even though you've previously said as a part of the grant application that you would do it, I thought it was really important to, take a moment and kind of, Bob can provide you an overview of what that means and get kind of an official council action, hopefully, to submit that package.
Okay, Bob, do you want to talk to council about why and how and what?
Sure, thank you. It's nice to be here, Mayor and councilors. My name is Bob Long. I'm a registered geologist and certified water rights examiner in the state of Oregon. I've been working with the city for the last, the better part of the last 3 years, trying to first get the permit for the new water treatment plant, and then follow on criteria for some of the funding. And that's where these water rights fall in. They are part of the criteria for funding from Oregon Water Resources. As part of the funding grant, some water rights, sort of a list of water rights that were acquired through property transactions by the city, were asked to be assessed. And our firm, CWM H2O, assess those water rights, and those that look like they might have a chance to be valid still, we were asked to submit those applications to OWRD. And so those are the applications that are in front of you. So these are surface water rights that have been part of primarily industrial operations that have been discontinued through bankruptcy and downturns in the market over the last several decades. The city has a position different than a private organization might, in that they have the rebuttable presumption of cancellation, which means that they have a shot at acquiring the rights by property acquisition, and then transferring them in stream. So these rights have not been significantly exercised in recent years, but they still provide a paper record that can be put permanently in stream with an ecological benefit or presumed ecological benefit to the state and to the city. If you have any questions about these water rights, I'm happy to take those questions now, and happy to talk about anything else we might be doing.
Bob, there's a saying in Grant County, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. Will this hurt anybody's water rights that are already in place right now? Private people.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. The rights that are somewhat valid are not super old rights. I mean, they certainly are they date back a little bit. but they're not going to be close to the oldest rights in the valley, and they would not probably set a milestone to make a call on somebody else's water at that location.
Do you see a possibility of taking water rights from somebody, even if they're new?
No, well, the city would not be able to take water rights from anyone. That would be it would be a call that was made would have to be made by the state if it was in stream, and we had put them in stream for the use of the state and the health of the river. So, is it a possibility? I suppose it's a possibility, but it seems a very, very low one. It seems much more likely you would have a call from irrigation district that would shut off users that were junior to the irrigation districts, right?
These are all city-owned properties we're talking about?
Yeah, these were properties purchased by the city over the last several years.
Are they all related just to the river, or is the like Trowbridge ditch involved in any of that?
Well, I'm not familiar with the Trowbridge ditch water rights as they pertain to the water rights that are in this package. We can certainly look at that relationship, but we're not putting any water rights related to the Trowbridge ditch that I'm aware of into this permanent transfer.
Casey Casey has something.
Bob, Casey Myers. Could you give them the dates and the names of the water rights that we're possibly transferring back to in-stream, so they can maybe get a better grip on what they were for and what they're about? Because I know one was in the 1800s and it was for placer mining.
Yeah, I think that one, Casey, was one we felt was not viable to put back into the river. That was just too long ago. It was not really an established business in the last 50 years or so.
So maybe you could get info on that, and they could go from there.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, Casey, there is a technical memo that documents the assessment of each of the water rights that was submitted to the city last year. I'm happy to dig that up and put that at the top of everybody's email basket.
I have it, so thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Casey.
I have that information.
Casey has that, so he's good.
Yeah, you should have that information. And then you'll see, in the packet are the few that we felt were still viable for putting in stream. There are a couple of water rights that are groundwater related to sumps along the John Day. They're not eligible for transfer to in-stream because they're groundwater nature.
Right.
Even though they are probably connected directly to the river. The city might want to consider just claiming those water rights as their own, but that was not part of our scope, but I'm putting it out there for the city's information.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Casey. Yeah.
I really want to understand this because water rights are pretty consequential for a city, actually.
Yeah.
Especially if the city grows and we want to drill another well someday. Water rights, I know enough about this to be dangerous, but I do know that the city's right to be able to produce more water for its municipal system is partly driven in the ability to have the water rights to pump the water out of the ground. And so, Bob, my question, first of all, there was a comment early on in your briefing that you said the city's already signed a contract saying we would transfer these rights? And if that's the case, I'm confused about the decision that we're making tonight, the why behind it.
Well, the decision at arriving at it was before my time, but it's criteria for about $3 million worth of funding. And the city currently holds groundwater and surface water rights beyond its ability to actually put them to use. So there is quite a bit of availability in the city's portfolio of water rights for growth. And in addition, there is the potential that the city could claim these two groundwater rights along the John Day as in the same manner that we claim them and are putting them into the stream. So
Sorry, go ahead.
I think we've got a lot of water rights in the city of John Day, certainly enough to probably get twice as big as you are. There is a water management conservation plan that needs to be updated next year. That would be a time for the city to put together its new projections for growth and development to see where the next 20 to 30 years, even up to 50 years of water use might take them. And that would be a time to measure against the water rights that the city holds right now and the actual water use under those rights.
Is there a more detailed analysis of the breakdown of the water rights the city has and the context in what we would be turning back in stream and then what that would leave us for future growth? From maybe like a average household kind of metric?
Yeah, the Water Management Conservation Plan does have that metric in it. And the last plan is a bit dated at this point in time. I believe it's coming up on 10 years. And that's why there's requirement to update that. Also, the city has a water master plan. The water master plan would also contain those budget forecasts for water use in the future and weigh that against the water rights that the city holds, that the city traditionally holds. The water rights we're talking about in terms of putting them into stream are not included in the city's portfolio to date, largely because they were acquired over the last several years. I think post the last water management plan and the last water master plan. So they haven't really been considered in the total portfolio, but the portfolio that the city does have in hand is pretty ample for growth.
There's a difference between the groundwater rights that we use for potable water to serve the community and the in-stream water rights, which are water rights on the John Day River for irrigation or industrial use, which actually comes out of the surface water system that we can't use for potable water. So we're talking about two different types of water rights essentially. And what we're looking to give up are the surface water rights that would come out of the John Day River or affect that shallow subsurface groundwater, not the deep well groundwater, correct?
That's correct. The surface water could be used for drinking water, but you would need a water treatment plant to treat that.
Thank you.
So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at what would be either irrigation water or log yard water or something like that from the Oregon Pine property and possibly part of the Hill property. That's what we're looking at giving up in trade for the grant. We're not looking at groundwater rights that serve our population for drinking water and potable water. Just so that everybody understands that.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, I'll defer to Dave's expertise on this. This is not an area I've had a lot of experience in, but I do understand there are consequences.
And if I said something wrong, please correct me, Bob, but I believe that's the correct version of what we're talking.
Yeah, I think you're correct. The city's groundwater rights are pretty considerable and have not been, fully utilized as an entire portfolio. The city's use is just a lot less than that these days. And there is an opportunity to perhaps get a couple more of these sump water rights that the city acquired through property transactions. If the city wanted an update on their water use and projections for water use into the future, sooner rather than later, our firm does provide those kinds of services.
Yes, Chris has a question.
Where does Purple Pipe fit into that? That's not groundwater, that's a surface water, right?
No, the Purple Pipe is groundwater being treated as sewage and then being reused as irrigation, industrial water, whatever, anything but drinking water.
The purple pipe is a disposal pipe essentially that will go from the new wastewater treatment plant, and it will convey treated or reclaimed wastewater to various uses around town, like irrigating parks and log deck watering.
Golf courses?
Yeah, potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Potentially. And
Bob,
Eric,
I noticed in your.
I just wanted to answer Eric's question real quick about kind of why are we talking about this if we have to do it anyway? It's just been a while since the city kind of committed to this with a whole different leadership. So it seemed like a pretty big thing to me that I wanted to flag for you guys. Nothing is set in stone. You don't have to do the Purple Pipe project. You don't have to do these in-stream transfers. You guys could pull the plug on everything if you so decided. So you're not painted into a corner, and I want you to feel some informed decision making is happening and still can happen, as we go through these projects.
I'd like to add a footnote to that. The applications that we're required to submit, it's about a 50-50 shot that the state will even approve them. We discounted several of them because we thought they just would not pass any kind of critical evaluation. So the ones that we are submitting to meet the grant, it's not a guarantee that the state will actually say, yeah, that's a great water right, we're going to put it in stream. They might just say, we don't have enough information. It's great that you provided this and you've checked the box for your grant, but we don't know that we can, with a straight face, accept these applications.
What's our timeline on this?
It depends on how. Well, you could take probably a couple of months to think about it, but getting the grant funding flowing is probably pretty important at this point in the game as the design team for the Purple Pipe progresses. Those costs are going to start to weigh on the city, and it'd be good to get that funding from the state as soon as possible.
Is that what you meant by the timeline?
Right, yeah. How much time, if we chose to, for instance, table this tonight and for 2 weeks, or could we table it for 2 weeks, and would there be a consequence to that?
Not at all.
Yeah,
and I think, Bob, perhaps there's some information like the age and identification of these different water rights that have been in previous memos that we didn't include in this latest package. Maybe we could just put some of that together and send that over to council as well.
I mean, I'm all for the project moving forward, but I think that this is an important decision and we need to be prepared to understand. I want to understand the details before I vote on it.
I'd be fine with tabling it for 2 weeks and getting further discussion and having them at our next council meeting if that's the consensus from the board.
I'd make a motion that we table this decision at least until the next council meeting.
I'll second.
I don't think you really need a motion.
We don't.
Consensus.
Consensus?
Okay.
So we'll table it. You guys can get me the additional information We'll have you back in 2 weeks. Yay.
Yeah, so and
Um,
there's another thing on here that you guys could spend the next 2 to 4 weeks also thinking about that Bob and I wanted to flag for you guys. And
okay.
that's the sort of the long-term monitoring proposal. And this is what Bob put together that explains and, you know, puts some costs and details to what exactly needs to be done to monitor the sewer project and establish some baseline data now, and then to monitor it after construction, and then up to 3 years after construction. There will be some data that needs to be taken. So the document E, which is the CWM H2O monitoring proposal, that's that document. And it's ultimately some work that Bob says, you know, it would be great to train the city staff over, say, the first year, and then have city staff be able to take that over. But, you know, there is kind of a cost annually to doing this monitoring that is being required by DEQ and by U.S. Fish and Wildlife and by National Marine Fisheries. So I also wanted to kind of flag that because it's much more than, you know, the $8,000 for the biologist. This is more in the range of 130 to 150 when we factor in well drilling. That also has to happen to put some of these monitoring wells in. So Bob's also here to answer some questions about that, or we can just table that as well. You guys can read over that proposal and we can talk about it here in 2 to 4 weeks.
Yes.
Are we gonna
Chris?
have to drill more monitoring wells?
Are we gonna have to drill more?
Farther downriver.
Yeah.
Aren't some of those on private property?
No,
Possible.
no monitoring wells will be going in on private property. We've staked and worked with the city public works to find locations that are in public right of way. And that's all contained within the monitoring reports that we had to submit within a year of the WPCF permit approval. So the draft permits are into DEQ for DEQ's required monitoring, groundwater and surface water monitoring. And then there's another monitoring proposal that is responding to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and National Marine Fisheries Services comments and concerns about impacts to fish from the release of treated effluent to the groundwater system. So it's a pretty complicated monitoring package, especially for the first 3 years. And after 3 years, hopefully the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and NMFS monitoring will drop off. That'll be updated every year. Maybe we can get them to drop it off earlier. We're not expecting any big surprises, but you can never know until you actually go and measure it, what's going on. There's nothing to indicate, especially because these sites have been assessed for environmental impacts already. Environmental impacts, when I say environmental impacts, I mean impacts due to previous industries that have been on these properties. And they have been given, you know, basically the bill of health to proceed, and DEQ has been proceeding with us along these lines for the last 3 years. NMFS concerns are more to do with trace metal concentrations that might be mobilized or might impact the waters of the John Day River. And that's where they're coming from as fish biologists doing their job. And we've been arguing with them that you know, we don't need as much monitoring as perhaps they would love to see, and they have cut back quite a bit on what they initially had provided us. And those comments came in last week. So we are finalizing the monitoring program that goes with that. Just to clarify what Nick said, there is quite a bit of monitoring for the first 3 years, before construction and after construction. But after that 3-year window, it really drops down to just DEQ monitoring, which is just groundwater for your basic nitrogen, total TOC, conductivity, pH, very domestic types of monitoring for the subsurface around the infiltration basin that's proposed. So after the 3 years, we're hoping that, the federal folks go away. Of course, the money will be spent. I don't really know how they expect us to hold a hatchet over our necks 3 years down the road. If the plant's built and we've spent the money, I don't know how they would ever do a clawback on that. But I think most of this exercise is for the agencies to get some kind of data on the John Day because it's not available otherwise.
One last question.
Chris has a question.
Nick and Bob, our DEQ permit runs out in December of 2032 for our new wastewater pollution control facility. Can you guarantee we'll actually have a plant by 2032 in the city of John Day?
We better.
It's
I
been
mean,
a
nobody
long
can
process.
guarantee anything, but if you don't, you might not have any wastewater plant at all in 9 years. So, I mean, the hope is, we're rounding the corner on the biological assessment, and it's going to take a couple months for public comments to go out. But next year, some of this money should be getting spent down, and some progress should be happening. But ultimately, no one knows what's in the mind of the fisheries services when we submit things to them. And Bob and Stuart, our experts, have many times thought they were at the finish line, and we've been given more and more requirements. So it's, we're doing the best to navigate it as quickly as possible.
Well, and at this point, we're pretty much stopping. We're not, we've played the game long enough, and we think that, there's a fair and equitable monitoring plan that they can look at, and they can make their decision. And we need to move on from that. They have to stop the hand wringing and the what ifing and just make a decision. We know what the decision is probably going to be anyway. There's going to be and Nick, you would say this better than I. I'm not really a ES environmental impact statement guy, but basically it's going to be a authorized take. And okay,
Yeah,
so
they'll say that there's a potential to adversely affect the fish, which sounds bad, but it means that if something happens in the river, that may or may not be the fault of the treatment plant, because there's simply so many variables of what happens to that water, that the city wouldn't just automatically have the hatchet come down on them, because it wouldn't automatically fall on you that something happened in the river. And maybe there's not even a particular direct cause that anyone can point their finger to. So it gives the city a little bit of legal protection for the endangered species in the river.
So we need that decision to move on and get the funding for the plant and select the design team and get the design team going. It's probably going to be 2 years of design and 2 years of construction in a rapid fire type of a project. So that's what we're looking at, I think, 4 to 6 years to completion.
And ultimately, the monitoring proposal, I was talking to Bob and asking him how quickly we really needed to start moving on it, and he just wanted to emphasize that to get a driller lined up is going to take 4 to 6 months potentially. So the data that's going to be collected will be needed by the engineers who will design this facility. So we're trying to think ahead and plan for the next steps here, and it's certainly not some work that would be done if one of these agencies puts a stop to the project, but that doesn't seem to be the case right now. So we're planning to plot ahead, and this work also will be paid for by the grant. So,
and the sooner you get those monitoring wells in and you get a baseline prior to the plant being done, where you have the full cycle of seasons, the raising and the lowering of the river levels and stuff like that, the better it's going to show whether we actually have any impact whatsoever from what normally happens or not.
That's right. In fact, we're actually expecting that any changes are going to be an improvement in water quality from where we are now.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? We'll table the transfer of the water rights for in-stream and the long-term monitoring proposal till the 26th council meeting. I want to thank you both and also Stuart tremendously for the amount of time you guys have put into this, and the crew at City Hall and everybody else has put a ton of time and lots and lots of time, and hopefully, Bob, your fight goes well and we can get something going finally.
And we'll be here next meeting or whenever, Heather, you want to schedule that to answer more detailed questions that you guys might have on those two items.
Okay. Thank you. All right, anything further on that?
Kevin?
Oh, yes. Will you stand up? Hey, will you stand up, please, and say
Just
your
a question.
Yeah, I know, but
Beth Spelljone. I didn't hear you guys vote to table it. I heard somebody.
We don't
make
need
a
to
motion.
vote.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to ask procedural, because.
No, we
So
didn't.
not everybody had a voice in it. That's all I wanted to see.
Anything else? All right, moving on. Sherry had something for the agenda.
Oh, well, I got a couple of things. I had requested recordings of a couple of meetings. I was able to get one, and I was told the other two are nowhere to be found. And I just want to somehow get that on the record that we're missing January 11th of 22 and February 22nd of 22. They seem to be missing.
Okay.
And then the other thing that I had, Dave, it was not in the minutes or stated in the minutes that you would formally step down as president of the council. So I'm asking if that's going to be made formal for the record.
The council voted me in. If the council doesn't want me president, the council can vote me out.
Well, then I make a motion for the council to consider.
Can I speak first, please?
Yeah,
If you added it to the agenda, you cannot vote on it.
Correct, I know.
Okay.
What? No motions can be made on amended, added things to agendas.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, anything else from you?
No.
Okay, Dave, you had.
I was contacted by Strata Gold this evening, a little bit before council. He wasn't sure who to get a hold of. The website that they built for the city, and I talked to him a little bit about how we can get that put onto, that link put onto the city website. He says they can do that, but he would need permission to do that. His main thing was that the credit card that website is paid for by has been canceled because of the employees that have left. So when they tried to charge that credit card, the company that I don't know all the technical terminologies, but they monitor, they do whatever. They're the ones that keep it going, I guess. When they billed that credit card, it was denied. So the gentleman from Strata Gold that we've been working with paid for it out of his own pocket so that the site would stay up and live. And that's the site they built for us on our behalf. he wanted to make sure, he didn't care if he got reimbursed, but I told him he definitely needed to be reimbursed. But we need to get that taken care
Card
of.
changed.
It's $23 a month.
Okay.
It's billed yearly, so it's
Okay.
270 some bucks a month or a year,
Okay.
for that website to be up there. And there's lots of room on it to be added to and stuff like that, so.
So we did get a City of John Day card through the bank since we have managers transitioning and everything like that. So we have a City of John Day card that will stay at City Hall so that the girls can order in case Casey or Dawn were gone with their card. So we can put it on that card.
Yeah, it needs to be taken care of. It was paid for
Okay.
this next year cycle.
So I'll email Ben and ask him for a copy of the invoice so we can get him
Yeah, I
reimbursed.
told him to go ahead and invoice us.
Okay.
Because he needed to be
Absolutely.
reimbursed for it.
Yep.
And that I would follow up with the council.
Okay.
As far as, getting the credit card and stuff, part of it taken care of so that the company has it on record so they can just rebill it.
So when he was here and brought the deliverables, he was supposed to provide us with access and a login for the Discover John Day site so we could add it to our website.
Well, he says it's discoverjohnday.com. You just go on the website.
No, but
and
to
that's,
add so in order, because I contacted our website designer for our page, and we have to have access to be like, kind of like how we have access for our employees to have.
administrator.
Yes.
Okay, well, you'll have to talk to him about that
Okay,
because
well,
I don't know
I've
anything about
emailed
that.
him 4 different times on it, and so he said when he was here, so I will follow up with him on that piece, because we can add it to our website,
And
kind of
that's-
like a banner type of a thing that
Right,
would
and
be
that's
on
what I
there.
was talking to him
Yeah.
about today.
Okay.
That we needed.
Yep.
We wanted to
Yeah,
do
we
that.
paid for it, it's a really nice site, we need to utilize what we have. Agreed, but definitely get him to send the invoice, and we will get it.
He asked me to send it to, I told him just send it to the City of John Day.
Perfect.
It'll
Okay.
show up at City Hall.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be addressed to anybody specific.
Nope. It'll get paid. Was there anything else?
That was
You?
it.
Okay, I do have a hand raised online. It just says T. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
What, Daddy will give you some? Do you want a spoon?
I can hear you.
So my question is, are we still looking to hire a city manager, or has that position been inherited by someone else?
Can you please state your city and name?
John Day, Tanny Snasky.
Your name,
Snasky?
okay? Can you repeat your question? Sorry.
My question is, are we still looking to hire a city manager? Or, because I see city manager up on my screen every time I log in here, so I'm curious if we're still hiring a city manager or if that position's been inherited to someone else.
Nope, we actually have an executive session after this with the recruiting firm for the next steps.
Awesome.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments? If not, I would entertain a motion. Yes, stand up, please.
Do you want me up to the podium?
I don't care, you can stand there as long as you can say your name and city.
Judy Schutte, John Day. I think there were some positive things that happened here tonight, and I'm hesitant to say what I'm going to say. But Sherry, what you just attempted to resurface to do with 2 brand new, not even hours old, members to sit on the council, and yet you felt that it was a responsible thing to do to bring that before the council to vote on, I think was irresponsible. I think it was reprehensible. And I would hope that those kinds of actions
will not continue. And I would hope that the two gentlemen that were just sworn in would have taken that position that, hey, unless you've already talked to them prior, which could happen, about what you were going to do, I'm just very, very disappointed that you chose to bring that to the table tonight with two brand new counselors.
Anything else?
Agreed.
State your name and city.
Kathy Stoddard, John Day. If you're gonna be on the council, you're gonna be part of the city, you should really know what a city charter is and how it operates. And when you can try to get a sneaky motion under the table.
Thank you.
That's crap.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn our regular council meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Sherry makes a motion.
Second.
David's gonna second. I have to switch. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, this council meeting's over. I will switch over. We can have a 5-minute break for everybody if that works. So I gotta switch over to the other